please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Stand strong. The day is here. The battle's near. Put on the armor. Yeah. Belt the truth around my waist. Feet of peace, I take my place. Bracelet shining righteousness. Shield of faith, no fear, no death. Helmet of salvation, crown. The word of spirit cuts them down. Darkness trembles, shadows fall. I'm clothed in fire, I hear the call. Armor of God, I will not yield. Stand in the light, my sword, my shield. Against the night, against the light. The armor of God will never die. Every scheme and every snare
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. A little bit late start today. My kids started wrestling, so expect it. So both kids are in wrestling. They have wrestling practice. Have to come home, be the dad, make dinner. I got the stuff late into the crock pot, so that's really what took me so long. Had to bake the noodles, all that stuff. But got them all fed, and now we are here. And Super Dad, right? That song, Armor of God, right there from yours truly, the lyrics. And yeah, it's a great song, isn't it? And I wanted to give a shout out to Shelly and Carlos out here in Minnesota. Thank you so much. They sent me they told me that I inspired them with that song, and they made these postcards and these cards with the Armor of God on it. I would show it, but it's in my truck because I keep it over my visor, because that's the best place for it. Whenever you need a little inspiration, you pull those out. But thank you so much, Shelly and Carlos. I appreciate that more than you could ever imagine. And so played that one for you tonight. And man, another interesting day in the world of holy shit, right? So one of the fastest bills to ever pass through House and Senate just happened today, the Epstein disclosure bill. And you want to know something? It don't freaking matter. You're not going to learn anything new that you didn't already know. They aren't going to release the good stuff. They aren't going to tell you all the people that are criminally involved, especially when those people, those companies, those corporations are just aligned with trillions of dollars flowing into the United States and investing in the Donald Trump and Republican campaigns. It's just not going to happen. They protect their own. And I'm not saying that bad against Donald Trump or anything like that, but just understand that when you start talking about Jeffrey Epstein, you are opening a big, dark Pandora's box that goes much, much deeper than him slinging underage girls to politicians and world leaders. And that's pretty dark. It goes much darker than that. And so here's the thing, is they aren't going to rip that Band-Aid off just yet. The world will probably never know. I believe Epstein's still alive. That's my thoughts. And we'll talk about that a little bit tonight when we talk more about this. I wanted to actually start with something that I saw, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I kind of went back and started looking at it. And I'm like, holy shit, that's kind of interesting. So Donald Trump the other day on Truth Social put this out. Yeah, that right there. No, I'm joking. Put this out. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a disgrace to our great Republican Party. And I said, I wonder what that timestamp is. And so timestamps, you actually go to the legitimate timestamp, you go to the date, but also you check the time posting. So 9/17, and he posted this soon after as well. But you go to that posting, and you get right here at the top, you see 9:17 p.m. posted. So it's 9:17 on the board. And what is this? The definition of patriot and traitor. A person who betrays another, a cause, or any trust. A person who commits treason by betraying his or her country. Now, that's not why this was interesting. This was interesting because of what Marjorie Taylor Greene said in response to that post. Listen to what she says here.
That's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the...
Whoa, wait a minute here. So Trump posts this with the timestamp going directly to the definition of a patriot and a traitor. Marjorie Taylor Greene responds in kind with a definition of patriot and traitor, as if there's some comms here that are happening. Now, why do I bring this up? Number one, you know me. I'm not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not. I would have her on. I would talk to her. No problem. Do I believe she sold out with Kevin McCarthy in a little bit? Yeah, probably. Do I think that she has good intentions for this country? Maybe. I don't know her. Am I a big fan of her? Not politically. But you have to understand how Donald J. Trump operates. Donald J. Trump looks at people within his network as soldiers. He looks at them as resources, tools to be utilized in a greater expansive game, 5D chess. What we've been talking about, Steve Bannon, the Epstein files, right? Steve Bannon leaves the White House, not on good terms with Donald Trump, takes off, goes out there, starts doing media and PR with Jeffrey Epstein, does an interview, 16 hours with Jeffrey Epstein. 3 months after he ends with Jeffrey Epstein's arrested and then he disappears or suicided. Disappeared is my thought. And then Bannon is all good with Donald Trump. Oh, well, that's interesting. We got Ron DeSanctimonious. Ron DeSanctimonious ran a primary against Donald Trump and lost. Remember, DeSanctimonious. They were at each other's throats. Tons of stuff coming out left and right. And then right after the primaries, they shake hands, and Donald Trump's like, I'm looking at Ron for a position in my cabinet, which would probably still happen when Byron wins the governorship in Florida. You'll probably see Ron DeSantis come into the Trump administration. Well, what was that whole thing? It was optics. It was playing the information warfare, the psychological warfare game. Tucker Carlson, oh, Tucker's a bad guy. He's a piece of crap, all this stuff. The next day, eyes are on Tucker. Tucker's out there exposing Ted Cruz with a live interview. Eyes on. Trump uses these people that are his friends, and he creates kayfabe. He creates a fictitious fight amongst them so that they can go out and actually do his work, infiltrate the other side like Bannon. They can go out there and help lead the way. Now, I want you to think about something here with the Epstein files. Number one, the Epstein files, and not what the government has, not what the DOJ has or anything like that. The true Epstein quote unquote files. What I mean by that is the things that Epstein did since he joined a 3-letter agency in the 1960s and the 1970s to the day that he was most likely swept out of a New York City prison, is he worked and collaborated with intelligence agencies around the world. Central Intelligence Agency was within his prima facie. Now, what did he do for them? He was a money mover. He was a fixer. He would go in there with criminal organizations, heads of criminal organizations in human trafficking, weapons trafficking, drugs trafficking, and he would manage their money. He would launder and wash their money through legitimate means to bring it back to get people paid. One of the main reasons that he became incredibly wealthy. This is what he did. So when you start to think about the CIA running drugs and human trafficking rings, who was their money man? Jeffrey Epstein. Starts to make more sense of why he was interconnected. Later on, he became this interconnective networking tool, this middleman between NGOs, philanthropies, billionaires, and high powerful people in the financial world. He became this middleman between the intelligence and political apparatus and the corporate and elite apparatus. And within that, obviously, you have aspects of espionage. Honeypotting operations, getting people on camera, doing things because you want to control them. This is the type of person that Epstein was. And if you want to think that they're going to release all that, you're crazy. But Donald Trump knows that if he brought all of this out, it's political suicide for MAGA. Not only that, it's probably loss of life for him, his family, and everybody else associated with him, because he's got to be neutral on that situation. He can't order Pam Bondi to go out there and release these files. He's got to atone to his donors. He's got to look after the intelligence apparatus, which he is now over top of. He's got to be respectful to the foreign intelligence apparatus that is also out there, and all the foreign heads of state and everybody else who's potentially implicated. So Donald Trump's got to come out there and say, there's nothing there. He's got to play the game optically. There's nothing there. Nothing's ever going to happen. Oh, it's a nothing burger, Democrat scam. Well, on the sidebar, you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people, Tim Burchett, Massey, whoever, whether Trump likes them or not, it doesn't matter. They're out there actually pushing for the disclosure to get the information out to the world. That way, when it does come out and it does get released, or it comes into various different trials and points, Donald Trump had nothing to do with it. He tried to stop it in every way. It's not his fault. That's how this game is being played. And you keep on seeing it over and over, time in and time out with Donald Trump. And if you pay attention to him, you can see this. So I love this comm that we just saw there between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump. And I guarantee you within 6 months, Donald Trump will be like, oh, Marjorie, I endorse you. Oh, heed my words. Trump will endorse Marjorie Taylor Greene before the primaries. John Harold, Patel Patriot over there on X today. He said, MAGA is America first. The PSYOP is trying to convince you it isn't. And so since this kind of divergence of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump, we've seen this idea of people taking off their MAGA hat and putting on an America First hat, as in a division or a segregation of America First and MAGA. Well, here's the thing. MAGA is America First is MAGA. There is no separation. There is no division. People are trying to divide this movement. There's active psychological warfare operations in progress right now to break up MAGA. And they've been at it for a very long time, whether it's foreign intelligence, whether it's deep state apparatus, it doesn't matter. They are continuously at work trying to break up the hard work that we've done, as well as control the narrative. They do this through infiltration of various different influencers. So one of the things that you'll begin to see is you'll start seeing influencers that you've been following for a long time begin to turn suit. They'll begin to move away from MAGA and start saying, oh, it's just America first. And Donald Trump, oh my God, he betrayed us all, the Epstein files and all this shit. Then that's because these people don't understand the larger point of the game. They don't look at things from a 40,000 foot view. We've been highly accurate in what we've been saying. Myself, Alpha Warrior, because we are looking at things from a game theory perspective, a 40,000 foot view. If I was in a position of power, if I was that man in the presidency, how would I deal with this global situation? How would I bring about world peace? How would I change the dynamics of the entire economy of the world? How would I usher in the golden age? How would I lay the foundation for a technological future that is beneficial to all of mankind? And how would I, at the same time, eradicate the evil from this world? You can't do it alone. You have to use friends. And sometimes the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And sometimes it means going out there and making deals with people that you wouldn't normally deal with. Sometimes it makes you go out there and take stances on positions that you are typically against before or for before. That's where we're at. And it's an amazing game when you start to realize how it's being played and what's actually happening. All right. I'm going to go into this part because it's kind of aligned towards, I got a guest that's going to come in and join me for 15 minutes. And you guys know him, Gabe. Gabe's awesome, dude. But I wanted to bring this out there because this is kind of interesting that I just saw. Washington man severely ill with unpredictable virus never seen before in humans. Did they do it again? Is this COVID 2.0? I think it is. I honestly think it is. I said, just when you think the world is going in the right direction, the globalists released their version of the X-Files Black virus. Zombie apocalypse, anyone? Is it potentially true that this is COVID 2.0? Gabe, what are your thoughts on that?
Wow, man, I haven't heard that one, but absolutely. I mean, I don't know about this specific case. Hopefully it's just some sort of outlier or whatever, but no, there's no question at all that not only now and in the present time they're using these kinds of viruses and disease-related pandemics to control people, but they've been doing these things for a very long time. It's not necessarily new, but it might be more sophisticated from a science, from science and technology standpoint. But people in authority have been trying to control the populace for as long as we've had government. So absolutely, they will use these things, and they did, and they have, and they will continue to be. And we have to take our health into our own hands. We have to think for ourselves. We had to form communities like this where people could share ideas, where people can kind of evaluate what's going on around us from every aspect. any place where people have a sensitivity, it gets used against them. And we see it with the financial institutions too. If you look at this kind of the scenario that's been going on since even Mayor Rothschild, you kind of openly even say these things, it's like obviously the idea of buying when there's blood in the streets, but to a large extent, they create the blood, right? So, like any kind of like health insurance or student loans or all of these things, these interests are very much at the heart and soul of people's emotions, and so it's an easy thing to build a story around. So if you take something like health insurance, for example, right? You build a story around it. Oh, everybody needs health insurance. Everybody needs health care, and then they come up with some plan for having the government back everything, and then the financial institutions and the big players create this huge money-making machine, and they're really not even taking any risk in doing it. But because they've got the heart and soul and the emotions of the population tied up in it, they're able to pull off thes big stunts. So it's as much as of a mathematical and financial and statistical game as it is also a psychological game. So absolutely, yeah, people are going to take advantage of these things. And then we're also creating, they're kind of going back to that conversation we had about the gut and PTSD. So, there's another aspect to that. So the flip side of it is when we're not healthy, when we're not taking care of ourselves, or when we've been damaged by something like a COVID vaccine or pesticides or herbicides or medications or overuse of antibiotics and all of these things, we also weaken our ability to stand up for ourselves, to fight for ourselves. Like once you get sick, or once you are financially unstable, or whatever it might be, whenever the things at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs start to become jeopardized, we're in panic mode because we're in survival mode, and we have to swim. And you always hear about when somebody's drowning, be careful because they'll grab a hold of you and take them down with you, right? And so they want to create this lack of self sufficiency amongst us as well. And the gut, and what we're going to be talking about there, is actually a key part of your health and being healthy in that way. And I kind of to continue on that thing about what we talked about with PTSD and all of that sort of thing. I was just reading a little bit more on that, and we were talking about the neurotransmitters like serotonin and these sorts of things that are produced in the brain and the central nervous system, but they're also produced in the enteric nervous system. Well, I just was kind of reading, this is a little bit older study, but it was one of kind of the seminal studies. They did a study on mice in the microbiome. This has been quite a while back, like 2013, I think, or something. But they showed that changing the microbiome in these depressed mice would then create. So what they do, they put these mice in a swim tank, and the healthy mice and the mice that have good mental stability, they keep fighting for their lives. They keep swimming, trying to find a stable place to stand, to find, and then they take the other mice that have developed some sort of depressive symptoms or whatever, they don't swim, they don't fight for very long, and then they just kind of sit there and see what fate brings to them. And so they showed that with these mice, that if they healed their guts, these previously depressed mice would then start swimming again, they would keep fighting for themselves. They have their independence back, right? And so when they showed that they then would sever, after they healed these mice, they would sever the vagus nerve, the connection between the enteric nervous system and the central nervous system, and they would find that all these mice would return back to the status quo, showing that it was the change in the gut that was signaling the proper neurochemistry to the brain to get the brain out of depression.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was watching. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but the vagus nerve actually has the largest amount of connections directly inside your gut, which I just found fascinating. So, yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And so the gut has more surface area than any other organ in the body by a long shot, more than your skin, anything. And it has this tremendous amount of neurons. And there's no explanation for why we would have that many neurons if the gut was just, its only purpose was to digest food. I think because the nervous system, the brain, as you know, I mean, humans have a large brain. It's generally accepted that there's a trade-off there. So if you have a large nervous system, if you have a large brain, then you consume tremendous amounts of energy. So the only way for that to make sense is that if that brain gives you a competitive advantage. So if the nerve system, which is electrochemical system, uses most of the energy in the body, why would our gut also have so many neurons? It has an amount of neurons that is comparable to the brain. It doesn't have as many as the brain, but it's comparable to the brain. So it can't be just for digesting food. It's because it has another purpose in our well-being, right? And in the enteric nervous system, unlike the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, the enteric nervous system operates autonomously from the central nervous system. So, for example, if you cut the spinal, if you cut the spinal cord, obviously whatever's below that cut is disconnected from the central nervous system and it doesn't function. But that's not the case with the enteric nervous system. The enteric nervous system is so important that it is developed in our bodies to be separate and independent of itself. So you just cutting the spinal cord or anything like that doesn't affect the ability for the gut to continue to function. And in doing that, a lot of these same neurotransmitters, like we know serotonin, these sorts of things are produced in the gut and in the brain. But there's one that's really interesting, and it's called corticotropin release factor. And this is a hormone that's produced mostly in the brain that helps that really controls our release of cortisol. But it's also produced in the gut. And it's also produced in the gut, like in the same cells that's produce serotonin. And a lot of people with IBS they know that the IBS is related to this release of this corticotropin release factor that releases more cortisol, and it probably plays some important role in a system where we're actually like being threatened in the wild or something like that. But when our gut gets all dysregulated from all the things that we put into our bodies, all the things we're exposed to, we now have this dysregulation of this of these hormones being produced in our gut, and that's creating all these stress responses, which can lead to specific digestive issues like IBS and things like that. But it's also dysregulating the brain. And one thing they know about this hormone is not only as it plays a role in the balance with serotonin, and it will disrupt serotonin, which then also gets into appetite and nerves and that. But it's also connected to our memories of fear and PTSD. So, but where our conversation about PTSD, this is a little bit something more into that, is that as our body's producing too much of this hormone release factor, too much cortisol, we're now susceptible to trauma. We're susceptible to not being able to process these fears, and this hormone is produced in the gut and produced in the brain, but it's dysregulated in the gut, is directly related to these psychological issues. So
interesting. It's mind blowing, dude. Well, you're the founder of GOODBRU.
Yes.
And I've been taking GOODBRU right now consistently I actually had to stop for a few days, and I didn't understand what was happening. And I'm gonna put this out there because it's actually a good thing. Okay. And I didn't realize what had happened. So, and tell me if this makes sense. So we typically have, when we're out of shape and whatever, right? We have a lot of bad bacteria in there. So when you start taking good bacteria and you start producing more good bacteria, you have what's called a die-off of the bad bacteria. And so with GOODBRU, as you begin to take your doses every morning in your coffee, don't overdo it, is what I'm saying. Don't take 3 scoops like I did, because then you're like, what just happened? And like you feel you bloat. And I'm like, what the heck happened? And I'm like, oh no, like is something going on? I was going to text you, but I'm like, I got this. and I said, I think I'm smart enough to realize what's going on here. And sure enough, I was absolutely correct. And so I've been taking it consistently, and absolutely a noticeable change in my gut health. Remarkable change. My daughter's using it. My daughter's had gut problems her whole life. Her gut problems are going away. So it's an amazing product. I take 1 scoop in the morning with my coffee, then I have a second coffee, another scoop in that, and that's all I have throughout the day. I don't do the 3 scoops in the morning anymore. That's just stupid. But preserve your GOODBRU, guys. Don't take 3 scoops. You don't need it.
Go ahead. Yeah, well, take what you like. That's what we always tell people. Start small with it, and then find what works for you. The nice thing about being able to use it in a scoop is you can find the appropriate amount for you. So let your gut adjust. And then also, your gut's always going through different things. Your Thanksgiving's coming up. There's throughout the year, you're going to have different things that you come across, and obviously, you may adjust to that. But a lot of people just use 1 scoop a day. That's all they use. And these are people that have had like real serious gut health issues, and it's helped them. And 1 scoop's what works for them. Other people, I do 2 a day, and I know some other people who use more than that. But yeah, I mean, 1 or 2 scoops is what most people use every day. And then listen to yourself, listen to your gut and your body.
Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed is like there's certain foods you'll have inflammatory reactions to, but you just like they're part of your, like they're in your fridge, you're going to eat them, right? And that goes away. That typically goes away. I've been using, consistent GOODBRU for probably 2 or 3 months now. And I just don't notice it anymore. It just doesn't happen. And so love the product. You feel free to tell people about it.
Yeah. Well, so GOODBRU, remember to use Repill as a discount code to get 10% off. It's GOODBRU.com. And now we have the Christmas special going. You can get buy a large. It's on the homepage. Buy a large, you get a free small, the free travel size. So buy a large, get a free small. That's running now. Use your 10% discount code Repill, or you can also use GOODBRU/Repill or put Repill in at the discount. And give it a try. Start it small, and there's amazing things that you can feel and benefit from with a healthy gut. And GOODBRU is organic. We use an organic inulin fiber. Lots of fibers on the market. I was talking to a customer today. They had been using one of these other products, and it was making their gut worse. It was a wheat dextrin, corn dextrin, produced by one of the biggest fibers on the market, and it's just not the right stuff, and they started using GOODBRU, and they were like, wow, it's done so much for me, So there's a lot of stuff on the market that doesn't really work that well, or doesn't work for everybody. A lot of the probiotics that are on the market don't really survive through your gut, through your stomach, through the stomach acid. GOODBRU does. The great thing about GOODBRU is there's 25 clinical studies behind it, many research papers. There's a lot more research coming out on bacillus coagulans in general for all kinds of benefits, oral health, lots of other things. But yes, it can be used in your coffee, and that's what makes it really convenient. Is that you can, because it's a spore-forming probiotic, it survives through the stomach and the stomach acid and provides in your coffee. So buy a large, get a free small, or try anything else on the website and get 10% off using Repill.
Awesome. Gabe, I appreciate you, bro. We'll see you here again in a few weeks, and appreciate all the knowledge. And everybody else, GOODBRU.com/Redpill, GOODBRU.com/Redpill. Gabe, we'll talk to you later. Take care, my friend.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yep, you too. All right, guys, right there, GOODBRU, GOODBRU.com/Redpill. You can find it scrolling there. And then one more, and we will get started. And this is for my Rumble guys. And if anybody out there is not in the Rumble world and you hear this, you can head on over to Rumble and find the links. And yes, fellows are tired of wasting ammo trying to sight in that new optic. You're not Rambo. You're just burning money. Meet the Boar, the little laser gadget that saves your wallet and your pride. Just pop it in, turn it on, and bam, your sights are zeroed faster than your buddy can say, I think you're shooting low. No more guessing, no more range trips that cost more than a date night. And let's be honest, she's still mad about the last one. The Boar gets you dialed in before you even fire a shot. That means more hits, less cussing, and a whole lot more bragging rights. So quit wasting ammo and start shooting smart. The Boar, cheaper than marriage counseling and way more accurate. Grab yours before your buddy does and starts taking credit for your aim. And there we go right there. And those links are up there on Rumble for you guys to see. And so it'll also be in the chat area as well as the description area. And for anybody out there who's interested in the boar, head on over to the Rumble channel. Make sure you subscribe and check that out. Let's jump right back into the news because, guys, I got DEF CON 0 tonight, 1 hour from now. So we got to do a show. We got to finish this show off, and I'm only like 2 articles in. So going back to the X-Files Black virus, is this COVID 2.0? Potentially. It could just be a one-off, or who knows? It could be the zombie apocalypse. It could be the deep state, the globalist cabal's last-ditch effort to save face, to try to take down the United States of America and implement their global tyranny and take away 85% of the population. I don't know. Let's just watch this and see how this expands. If tomorrow and the next day we start hearing more and more people get sick, then we're going to start fucking going, okay, start taking in that nicotine. Start getting those nicotinamides inside. Just start taking your ivermectin. All right, we're going to move on. Archbishop Vigano just dropped a nuclear truth bomb when a senior Catholic archbishop of former apostolic Nunciano to the United States openly accuses global elites of infiltrating Western governments to impose Agenda 2030. The world should stop and listen. Vigano warns a dangerous subversive elite has infiltrated the highest levels of Western institutions to implement a criminal global plan. He says those who expose this global coup are silenced through censorship, intimidation, psychiatric abuse, and arrest. And he names the political prisoners the mainstream refuses to talk about. Rainier Fulmick imprisoned in the crime for telling the truth. And then Vigano goes further than almost any church figure in our lifetime. It's not the Fulmick who belongs in prison, but those who committed the greatest crime ever against humanity. And he then names Fauci, Gates, Schwab, Soros, Von Leiden, Barula, and other accomplices in office. This is unprecedented. A senior archbishop accusing the globalist power structure of crimes against humanity and calling the emerging system what it is, a totalitarian regime spreading across Europe, Canada, Australia, and every nation controlled by the UN, NATO, WHO, and the WEF. His call to the world is clear. Raise your voice. Raise your voice. Defend the persecuted. Free Rainier Fulmick. History is accelerating. The church is speaking. Whistleblowers are being jailed, and the globalists are losing their grip. And I 100% agree with this right here. And Vigano, we haven't heard from Archbishop Vigano in a long time, so it's glad to see him coming out and speaking up. Right now, we have what's very close to a full-blown riot happening in Dearborn, Michigan. A bunch of guys, Christians, have began to congregate in Dearborn, Michigan, and they went out there and were protesting, and a whole bunch of Muslim youth showed up, and now the tempers are getting very high. I don't know what's going on there right now. I don't know if it's been broken up, but that's a dangerous precedent. And I'm going to say that. It's a dangerous precedent. The last thing that we want to do is spark these types of wars inside of our own country. I know that many of us feel that those things are coming, but I don't believe that now is the time to be going out there and go to these predominantly Muslim neighborhoods and begin to produce violence, because it was back and forth on both sides. Don't get me wrong. It was back and forth on both sides. But I think that what we're seeing right now is a lot of infiltration on both levels. I think that we're going to see a lot of push for social and cultural destabilization. If you remember the firestorm hierarchy, right? World War III and global economic collapse is the top part of this. That comes about through the through the attacks on the supply chain and critical infrastructure. That comes about because of social and cultural destabilization, political and institutional infiltration. And right now we are seeing that movement towards social and cultural destabilization. A real quick shout out there to Claire Ann on YouTube for a $50 super chat on YouTube. Man, showing Rumble up over there. Thank you so much, Claire Ann. Keep speaking the truth, Josh. Absolutely listening to you both here and on Badlands. Thank you so much, Claire Ann. I appreciate that, and thank you so much for the support. Jumping back into this, Eric Swalwell threatens to drag Tom Homan and Kristi Noem for aggressive investigations if the Democrats reclaim the House in 2026. Here's the key. The Democrats are not going to win the midterms. They're not going to get majority of the House. They're not going to get majority of the Senate. The reason being is because we are witnessing right now the end of the Democratic Party. And I know that, like, well, but you just had New Jersey and Virginia governor's races and Mondani in New York City. Wait, you'll see. I'm telling you, they're not going to win the midterms. They don't have any money. They don't have any good candidates. Their own party hates them. They're losing mass amounts of support. You have a divergence faction that's emerging right now in the Democratic Party. You have the far left radicals going even further left radical, democratic socialism and communism. And then you have your traditional Democrats leaning more independent, moderate, and looking at a variation of other candidates. They've lost hope and faith in the Democrats. And what we're seeing right now, the associations of the Democrats and the Epstein list, the planned collusion between all of them, what's about to come out through D-Class and FISA-gate and the grand juries that are already formed up in New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. Trust me, by the time the midterms occur, this is going to be in full force. D-Class is going to be a flood time frame. We're going to be drip, drip, flood time frame, which I'm telling you, the Democrats are done. We're watching the end of the Democratic Party. And that's why you get psychological warfare campaigns like this that play from the Democrats. Now, I want you to listen to it, but then I'm going to tell you what they're saying, what they actually mean.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Notice they never said Space Force. Just going to throw that out there. They didn't say NSA, Space Force, or Marine Corps. Just throwing it out there. But that's a psychological warfare operation calling directly for an insurrection. That's what that is. They are calling directly for an insurrection. They are telling ICE, FBI, they are telling federal officers, they are telling military members, disobey orders for political reasons, not legal, lawful reasons. And I see this because the Democrats are interpreting the law through their own perspective. Oh, what Donald Trump is doing with ICE and going out there and arresting all these illegal immigrants, that's illegal. It's not illegal. It's federal law that these people should not be in our country because they're here illegally. Look at it. If they wanted to be here legally, why didn't they go through the proper channels? Why didn't they go claim asylum at the border? They're here illegally, which is breaking federal law, and therefore federal law enforcement officers go and arrest them and remove them from our country. But the Democrats want you to believe that what they are doing is illegal. It's immoral. It's unconstitutional. Well, it's not. Because here's the thing. This country was created on immigrants. Ellis Island, New York City. Give us your weak, you're hungry, and you're poor. But guess what? Like my mother who came here in 1954 through Ellis Island. When you come through, you have to go through customs and immigrations. You have to claim asylum. You have to have a green card. You have to go through the normal processes. This is how it happened in the 1900s. Is if you came in as an immigrant, you're poor, you're weak, and you're hungry, guess what? You got processed in as an American citizen. You got naturalized as an American citizen. You came through proper legal channels. This is a psychological warfare operation being waged by the Democrats because they realize that they have no more cards left to play, that their game is up and they can only stew and brew chaos because that's the only way that they're ever going to save face and potentially have the ability to get a little bit of power back. Today, Congressman Ralph Norman officially files to strip Democrat Stacey Plaskett of her committee assignments and launch a full ethics investigation into her collusion with Jeffrey Epstein. Plaskett was coached by Epstein during the 2019 hearing and was congratulated after a message by Mr. Epstein, good work. She'd be censored, condemned, and removed from her committees and investigated by the Health Ethics Committee for ties to Epstein and any further improprieties. Now, why is this important? Well, you had Jamie Raskin come out after this and said she was simply talking to one of her constituents. How dare them try to censor her? She's just talking to one of her constituents while she's doing this. Someone who knew something. Yeah, but that person was Jeffrey Epstein. That person has a trail from 2014 to 2019 showing that he was colluding with the Barack Obama White House, their general counsel, that he was calling Barack Obama in these emails, the boss, waiting to take orders. We knew through Steve Bannon working with him that he was trying to change his image through PR and media. But what was really going on is he was being groomed during this point in time to be an expose on Donald Trump to be utilized by the Democrats. But they couldn't do it in 2019 and 2020 because they didn't have access to go in there and destroy all the files that they wanted to destroy. They had to go in there and destroy the files prior to using them against Donald Trump.
About, hey, Jeff, I saw your boy at Davos. Why are we not talking about Bill Clinton?
Well, I think it's important to note that even from the beginning of my task force in January of this year, I was really pushing to figure out what the deal was with these documents. And in around February timeframe, I was made aware by a whistleblower, of which I have since reported this to the FBI. And it was actually the only outlet in the country that would report on our findings was Fox News. We had actually reported that we were made aware of a whistleblower that under the former deputy director of the FBI, so under Biden's FBI, there was destruction of evidence specifically pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein and potential evidence tampering. I think that that's pretty important to note because I went public with this and not one member of Congress, really for the most part, a majority of Republicans weren't even tracking that. But
wait a minute. If you go back to February and March of this year, I sat right here and told you that the Democrats from 2020 to 2024, once they got power under the Biden administration, went in there and began destroying evidence of Russia collusion, evidence of COVID-19, evidence of Jeffrey Epstein. Anna Paula Luma confirming this. Now, what have we learned since then? DNI Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel finding burn bags and secret skiffs that haven't been touched yet. And how much do you want to bet that these destroyed documents of Jeffrey Epstein are going to somehow come up at some point in time in the near future when it's ready for them to come up? Maybe right before the midterms when it exposes more Democrat crimes. But she's onto something here. What we're seeing is that the reason they couldn't utilize Epstein in 2018, 2019, even though they had set up Donald Trump at that time frame with Epstein emails between him and Michael Wolff and Obama's former general counsel, is because the files, the information out there in the domain would still implicate multiple people in the Democrat side as well as foreign nationals. And you can't just go after one person when it pertains to Epstein. They had to get those documents into play so that they could remove them and destroy them, protect their interests, and then attack Donald Trump. And that's what we're seeing right now. So if you go back to March 2025, when I said that, they destroyed these files, there is no evidence as per the Epstein files. What you have is you have video evidence, you have videotape, CCTV, this type of evidence. You have that. We know Pam Bondi saw one of these videos of a senator, Dick Durbin, doing some horrific things on those videos. You're not going to see that. Dick Durbin's retiring because he got the boot. But the majority of the things that I'm talking about, the 3-letter agency stuff, this is all gone. Why? Because they cannot, both sides cannot allow that stuff to get out. Because what you do is that connects directly back, not just to human trafficking, human experimentation, genetic experimentation, the trafficking of children to biopharma, biotech corporations in offshore facilities and autonomous regions around the world. It starts associating the intelligence apparatus to children farms around the world. Dark, dark shit. We talked about a lot of this last night. So Speaker Mike Johnson today, releasing the Epstein files without redactions could pose a national security risk. Of course. And what did we find out after that? The Epstein files bill gives Attorney General Pam Bondi the authority to withhold or redact any material that would endanger national securities or interfere with an active investigation. And I'm pretty sure right after it passed the Senate, Susie Wiles was on a call to Pam Bondi saying, I want to see everything that you're redacting and not redacting. Because Susie Wiles is trying to protect the interests of someone else. One of the good things that came out of this is Trump announced an investigation into certain peoples associated with this, including Larry Summers. Former Harvard president Larry Summers will step back from all public commitments in an effort to rebuild trust and repair relationships with people he's closest with, pertaining to what's happened with Epstein. In other words, he's not stepping back. He's being pushed out. He's now under investigation. He knows the hammer's coming down. He is getting the hell out of Dodge, as well as many of these other people. And this is what we'll see as we begin to see more information come down. I don't know if this next tranche will have it, but we're going to see little things here and there. And you're going to see people being removed from the global stage, power figures removed from the global stage. So obviously the Epstein Files Transparency Act has passed the Senate. Are you ready for the big kicker? You will learn nothing new or shocking from the release of these documents. If you honestly think that three-letter agencies in our country and across the world, multinational conglomerates, billionaire donors are going to allow that information to come out, you are crazy. But there is a lead that you need to look at here. And it goes back to one of the things that we always have to do. Follow the money. Representative James Comer has just subpoenaed JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank for Jeffrey Epstein's financial records. Now, do I think you're going to find anything nefarious within Jeffrey Epstein's financial records? No. This guy literally moves black money, dark money. He moves illicit money to make it legal. He moves it through legitimate banking infrastructures, but he does it through massive proxies and intermediaries. So are they going to find anything from his personal finances? The personal finances will lead to secondary organizations and so forth, which will lead to proxies, and then you can file that money trail. Hopefully they come up with something, but I don't think what they're going to come up with is things that people really want out there. Trump today, the time has come to dismantle the Department of Education. So the Trump administration will transfer some of the education department's largest grant programs and major portions of several offices to other federal agencies, part of a broader plan to greatly reduce the department's authority in the process of bringing the power back to the states in the context of education. Why is that a good thing? Our founding fathers looked that capitalism was one of the mechanisms. A competitive market environment was one of the mechanisms that could preserve our freedom and our liberties. Is if you had states that could compete against each other in the sense of economics, in the sense of education, then people would flock to states that have better education and more liberties and freedom, leaving states that have very restrictive or very programmed education. What does that do? That moves the people out of that state. It reduces the amount of federal funding. It removes the amount of state taxes. And then those states have to change politically in order to realign towards the other states that are growing. This is kind of the competitive marketplace of politics and how it works with the interstate boundaries and why the 10th Amendment is so damn important. Congressman Byron Donalds, they told you Republicans were evil while Biden-Harris placed 450,000 unaccompanied migrant children with unvetted sponsors, many of whom were sex trafficked by gang members and abusers. POTUS has already located over 24,000 of them, and they are in the process of locating all the rest. Don't tell me shit ain't happening. Shit is happening. Texas Governor Abbott designates the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE as a terrorist organization. Now, why is this important? Who's at the White House tonight? MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, at the White House tonight. On the same day the Texas governor comes out and declares the Muslim Brotherhood, which is straight out of Qatar and Saudi Arabia and CAIR, terrorist organizations, that is a sending of a signal. It's the same day that Donald Trump announces a defense cooperation agreement that Saudi Arabia now has become a non-NATO ally with the United States of America. This is huge. This goes back to the whole conceptualization I talked about with the Middle East and Middle East peace and how it goes about. And I was actually talking about this last night. That when everybody in the Middle East, all the other smaller countries start seeing that United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Egypt, Turkey, Jordan, that they're all armed with United States armaments, they're going to go, well, we want that stuff. We got to be able to protect ourselves. And when they see Western money flowing in to build up this whole part of the world, and that Western money is going to protect those interests in that region, those other countries are going to notice, and they're going to be shaping up real quick. Syria is the next one. It's going to be billions, hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into Syria, flowing into Gaza, the rebuild. When other countries begin to see that, you're going to have a concentralization of a lot of the terrorist regimes because they're going to be pushed out of these other areas. And many of the funding aspects of that comes from the Muslim Brotherhood. It comes from CAIR. So you're going to see a lot of people in the Middle East start to get in the line. And the ultimate one to get in line is going to be Iran. And Iran's going to miss out bigly on a big portion of the economics that are going to come about from the inflow of capital into the Middle Eastern region and this realignment of the Middle East. Now, one of the other key points about the realignment of the Middle East, and this goes back to something that Kirill Dmitriev was actually talking about, is that Donald Trump's real economic war is with the central banks of the European Union. I've talked about this for a long time, that the old guard, the royalty, the bloodlines, global elite, all sitting over in Europe, this is one of the primary factions that Donald Trump has been fighting through and through. Well, what does this alignment in the Middle East with all of these nations now becoming defense cooperation agreements or direct allies with the United States of America? Well, what it does is it forms a new alliance that overtops NATO. Key point. The next part of that is it severs the military, intelligence, and trade ties with the European Union and now puts Donald Trump with the United States in control of those regions. Pretty huge when you start to look at it like that. But we just talked about that. Going into the economic aspect of things, Secretary Bessent demands Jerome Powell and the Fed slash interest rates at the next meeting, or it'll be a huge mistake. I hope it's where they're going after the Schumer shutdown did to the economy. If you're not taking an insurance cut here or flying blind, they say we don't have the data. If we don't have the data, that's what insurance is for. So to encourage them, they've gone into a cycle. Let's go 1, 2, 3 and see where we can go from here. I'm predicting that in December, we'll most likely see a 50 basis point drop in interest rates. The Fed has already came out and said that they propose that they're going to drop interest rates, even though they don't have the data to substantiate it because of the direct pressure coming from the Trump administration. But in 2026, we need an audit of the Federal Reserve System, and we need a dismantling of that system after the audit. And I have a feeling that a lot of that is going to come together and fruition in 2026. So I talked about this a little bit yesterday with the Japanese bond rate skyrocketing and everybody talking about an AI bubble. So Peter Thiel sold his entire $100 billion stake in NVIDIA. The day before, SoftBank dropped their multi-billion-dollar stake, the majority of their stake in NVIDIA. Many people are saying, well, it's because an AI bubble's coming, There is no AI bubble. Let me help people understand that what's happening in AI right now does have some overtones of the .com boom, but it is not a AI bubble. The reason I'll say that, the majority of the companies that are replicating AI technology and selling it on the open market are not publicly traded companies. The majority of the AI companies, the top 3, 4, are publicly traded companies, except for XAI or Grok. This is important to understand because right now, AI is legitimate. It is real. It is happening. It's Pandora's box. It is wide open. There's a massive inflow of capital. So think about this. Is you got these people going like, there's an AI bubble and Peter Thiel's removing his money from the market because the bubble's about to burst. And people are warning you, get your money out of the market, get your money out of the market. But at the same time, you have Donald Trump talking to MBS sitting at the White House, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, saying, hey, you're going to do 600 billion. Why don't you do $1 trillion? Why don't you do $1 trillion? And MBS is like, we'll do $1 trillion. You get $1 trillion. What is that $1 trillion going to invest in? Over $21 trillion worth of investment capital over the next 10 years flowing into the United States of America because Donald Trump secured these deals. What are they going to do? Build infrastructure, artificial intelligence, data centers, blockchain, quantum computing, nuclear facilities. That's not a bubble about to burst. That is a bubble that is about to form. That is a market that's about to explode in value. So then you have to ask yourself, why did Peter Thiel and SoftBank remove the majority of their shares from NVIDIA? Thiel and SoftBank believe NVIDIA's current cycle is topping out. And the next wave of value is shifting from GPU dominance to infrastructure, alternative chip architectures, and AI accelerated everything. They took profits and are diversifying, signaling that NVIDIA's dominance is most likely over due to mass competitive landscape. And this comes about because you have a company called Ampere, which is making the next line of GPUs and fast processing AI chips, a major competitor directly to NVIDIA. Well, guess what? SoftBank just invested billions of dollars into them. So understand that what they're doing is NVIDIA is going to continue to grow and continue to have great products, but their cycle of dominance is over. As in, they've reached that top. They're probably going to go up, but nothing near what they've gone up before. So people are pulling their money off of it to divest into other companies that are going to have a position within this new market dynamic that's coming about that we're going to see kick off here in the next 6 to 12 months. One thing about that we have to watch out for, and I think that this is exactly what we saw. If you saw that X was down, most of the internet was down today, it's because we have a centralized infrastructure that is primarily contained on Cloudflare, and Cloudflare had some massive problems today, although they're not going to talk about it. This is Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank, if you guys remember him, but he's really in cybersecurity and is a cybersecurity expert and professional. Listen to what he says right here.
We saw a cyber attack that I think you need to know about. I'll have a much longer breakdown of this attack and AI in general, but here's the short version because you need to hear it right now. We saw an attack that didn't come from a human hacker. It came from agentic AI. The attackers reportedly used Anthropic's AI coding tool, Claude Code. These are systems that think, move, and act on their own. What happened last night happened at lightning speed. This attack spread fast, escalated privileges, and moved across systems with almost no human involvement. Most organizations aren't built for that kind of threat. So what do? First, rethink identity and...
Okay. I just wanted you to hear about that part right there, because what you are witnessing is a new level of threats that are going to hit the internet. Cloudflare had a massive global outage. This affected much of the Western internet. Do I believe that this was AI derived? Yes, I absolutely do. I have inside information on this. I know that there was a hack in and around July 7th, 2025 that was actually dormant within U.S. military, DOJ, and classified systems, and that this thing went active on July 7th. Just coincidental. It's the same day that that indictments were or investigative inquiries were sent to the DOJ on Brennan and Comey. Coincidental, but it was an aggressive agentic AI that was self-replicating, and that every time they deleted it from the system, it continued to progress again after the system was rebooted and brought back up. This is scary, but this is going to bring about a whole new infrastructure of how things are done. What do I mean? Is that we're going to decentralize the internet. This is something that I've talked about for years. I wrote an article about, is Elon Musk building the next Sirius XM with X? Yes, he is. He's decentralizing the internet. What you're going to see is that internets will be hosted. It won't be internets. It'll be intranets. You'll have X internet. You'll have Ethereum internet. You'll have Solana internet. And you can go out there and you can get direct access for service, and you'll have websites that are hosted here, websites that are hosted here, but you'll have a decentralized front for all of it. Why? Because that's the only type of infrastructure that's going to be safe with artificial intelligence as it comes forth. Matthew Leifelsberger is back in the news. If you don't remember Matthew Leifelsberger, the Green Beret on January 1st in front of Trump Casino Hotel in Las Vegas, the Tesla truck blew up. I covered this. I had a lot to say about this. What we are getting is that Las Vegas police released a report regarding the Cybertruck explosion at the Trump Hotel. The report claims that Matthew Leifelsberger's manifesto was turned over to the Department of War, is now classified. The FBI notified him that the Department of War had deemed the manifesto classified. The LVMPD could no longer release further information to the public due to the concerns regarding national security. LVMPD halted its investigation to allow its federal partners to take this lead in the direction of the Department of Defense. Well, I know why. We talked about this. Number one is Matthew Leifelsberger was not trying to commit suicide. He was not trying to blow himself up. He was being targeted. He didn't know why. He knew some secrets. He gathered all the evidence of those secrets. He composed an email. He sent the email out 2 days prior to the event actually happening. Sean Ryan is one of the people that got this. This is where it talks about a genocide event that happened in 2019. And then it talks about how he's working on a project out of Germany on anti-gravitic technology and how the New Jersey drones are anti-gravitic drones from China. And this is why the government is involved, or the DOD is classified this, because it's not the manifesto, quote unquote, because in the car was a manifesto that they did release during that time frame. But we know that that manifesto was absolutely bullshit and a cover up because our government actually killed Matthew Leifelsberger. Instead, he had evidence on him to prove his story. What his hopes were was he was going to produce a explosion in the Cybertruck when nobody was around and he was outside of the car, come out and say, it was me. They arrest him. They detain him. They take him to the police station. It makes headline news. His face is all over the news and media. He makes a statement, video statement, puts it out to the world, and then he hands over the evidence to the authorities so they can begin to investigate it and find out who's trying to kill him. That was his fucking plan. Why? Because if I was a Green Beret, if I was a Delta, any of these guys, that's what I would do. That's what he was doing. And so we'll have more on this story as more comes about here relatively soon. I wanted to go into here, just see. We had Grant's cousin, $5 Rumble rant. Here's my last $5. Just kidding. I used a credit card. Still kidding. Thanks, Grant's cousin. I appreciate that, brother. Going in, checking YouTube real quick. It seems we're good there. And thanks to everybody else who donated and subscribe on all the other channels. And we're going to go in here, do this last one before we get into our last stories here. Let's be clear, cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It is here. And this latest move cements that reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low DeFi fees, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. Want in on the action? Head to crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again. And so the key about crypto, you have to understand, is that it doesn't happen unless you get involved. And the global elites, they are pushing for this world. The global elites are producing this world of cryptocurrency that is going to dominate. And the difference between a centralized blockchain controlled by large financial institutions and decentralized cryptocurrency networks that are primarily in the control of people is your involvement. It's really what it comes down to, your involvement. So if you're interested in that, I do a crypto course. I'll be releasing this crypto course to my audience here in the next few days. Actually, I got to write that down. Crypto course, and it's a Christian-derived crypto course that I made. I'll be releasing it here in the next few days for my whole audience, and it'll be discounted so everybody can get in on that. So I'll put that out here in the next few days so everybody has that. Other than that, guys, I'm going to DEF CON 0 here in a few minutes. Much love, respect, God bless. Take care. Have a great night. I'm going to leave you with this amazing song from redpillsmusic.com, redpillsmusic.com. You can check it out over there. The link will be at the bottom. Much love, respect, God bless. Take care. See you guys at DEF CON 0. See you next time.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns into silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil under, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone, patriots
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!